Hey guys, last day of the February vlog challenge. Didn't do as well as I wanted to. I skipped several days for various reasons, and then yesterday I got home and just sat down for a minute and promptly fell asleep, so I didn't even do a video yesterday. But even though I won't be doing daily videos anymore, I'm still going to be putting out at least one video a week, so not to worry. Today we are going to start by shipping fish. This pretty little lady is going to go to Heather in Wisconsin. And then we also have snails that are going right down the road to Central Virginia. Bunch of my purple snails. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I've already shown you how I pack and ship snails, so I'm not going to, show that, but I haven't shown how I ship fish, and even though it's pretty much the same as the snails, I figure I'll go ahead and show you what the deal is. So first, we've got clean water treated with dechlorinator, of course, and salt as per my usual. And we're going to fill up the bag about 1.5 inches. You want roughly 1/3 of a cup of water, give or take, 1/4 cup to 1/3. You don't want a whole lot. You want enough that the fish will be kept. Look, she's flaring at the batati. You want enough so that the fish will be kept wet, but not so much that you're adding extra weight, and not so much that the fish is going to get sloshed around and stuff. So less water, more air is how we ship bettas. Now I know it's different if you're shipping fish that do not breathe air, but for bettas you want less water and more air. And that's why when you see them being shipped, a lot of people freak out because pet stores are so cruel and they show a picture of the fish arriving in these tiny little bags. That's actually the safest way to ship these guys. And they can travel all over the world in those little bags, and DOAs are actually pretty rare. If you've asked anyone that's shipped a lot of bettas, they can tell you, very few end up as DOAs. And when they do end up as DOAs, normally it's not due to the packing and the water. It's due to mishandling by the post office or UPS or whoever's shipping the fish, leaving the box out when it's too hot or leaving the box out when it's too cold. That's the biggest problem. And sometimes, yes, delays, but I had a fish that was delayed for over a month. It was like 6 weeks. I had already gotten my PayPal refunded from the seller, and I was sure I was never going to see that fish again. And one day I got the box sitting on my front porch, and I opened it up, even though I knew in my heart that that fish was going to be long since dead. And I opened it up, and there she was, completely alive and healthy. So it just goes to show that these fish are really hardy and they ship really well. So let's go ahead and get her in the bag. I'm not going to set up my tripod or anything because I'm in a hurry, so I'm just going to turn the camera off and show you what she looks like in the bag. Okay, so now we have her in the bag. You can see she's got plenty of water. If I turn it on its side, she's still covered with water. And that's all the more you need for them. Now, if you have a half moon that has really big fins, you want to add more water. A lot of the times, the reason that half moon males will tear up their fins in shipping is because I think they get scared in the bag and they bite their fins thinking that they're being attacked by their fins. That's just a theory that a lot of half moon breeders have, because you can get them biting their fins in transit. So placots and females, this is pretty good. If it's really cold and you're using a heat pack, maybe include a little bit of extra water just to keep the temperature more stable, but for the most part, this is really good. So now what we're going to do, as I've told you in my other shipping video, you fold the tail over or you cut it. I don't like to cut it because sometimes that can make it so the knot loosens up. I just fold it over, and what we're going to do is we're going to invert this and stick it into another bag and then knot that. I can't show you this one-handed, but a trick to getting the second bag over the first, because it can be kind of hard, is get your thumb up under there and then kind of squish the bag down over your thumb. And this will allow you to get the bag over without much difficulty. Another trick, which I think I said in my last video, stretch the second bag. Stretch the opening. That will keep it, or that will make it easier to get the first bag in there. Then you just squeeze out all the air and then knot it like you normally would. Okay, so I'm using this little cannon, this round styrofoam that I received my rubra in last week. And so I've put her in there. Lots of paper insulation. I wrapped her up in newspaper. You can see the bag right there. And then stuffed some more in so she's nice and secure. And then put more on top. Now I'm going to go check the weather for the location she's headed and see if she needs a heat pack. And if she needs a heat pack, it's going to go right here. Close it. And then we'll stick this down into the box as usual. So that's how we ship fish. Ideally, you want to put the fish in the box so that it's facing upwards. But because of how this is designed, you kind of have to put it so the bag is on its side. And as long as you knot your bags really well, that really shouldn't be an issue. But it's always best, if you can, to put them in the box with the inside knot, the first knot from the first bag, facing upwards. Because hopefully the carrier is going to do his or her job and not, you know, turn the box on its side and turn it upside down. Hopefully they're going to be nice to the boxes. And so as long as that inside knot is facing up, you have less chance of leaking. So I'm going to go ahead, get her packed up and on her way, and then we'll see what else we can get into in the fish room today. So as most of you know that have been watching my videos for a while, I've been trying to find ways to mitigate the issue I have with ammonia being present in my tap water. Now this is not a problem for my tanks that are cycled and have plants in it, but it is a very serious problem for the fish I keep in jars. And a barrack system, as I said before, you know, a central system where all the jars are connected to one pump and one sump and filtered that way. It's just not practical for me right now, and it's also not in my budget. So for that and many other reasons, I'm not willing to set up a barrack system right now. What I've been having to do is daily water changes or dosing the jars with prime every day to keep that ammonia safe from the fish. So that's taxing, even though I only have a few bettas, and by a few I mean 60 jars. You know, a lot of you think 1 or 2 is a lot, but when you breed bettas, 60 is like a small number. But I've been just looking for ways that I could mitigate that ammonia, and one option is use water from my planted tanks. You know, it's already going to be low in ammonia because the ammonia will have been eaten by the nitrifying bacteria, but the problem with that is I'm not quite sure how the nitrates will be affected taking that water out of the taking water from out of the tanks. So in talking to some other betta breeders, I came across someone who had a very ingenious design for basically a sponge filter, Matten style filter for a jar. And so what he did was he got some foam like this, and he put it in the bottom of his jars. He has an uplift tube like this one, and then he has air going from the tube down into the bottom of the jar. And then what happens is when you turn the air on, just like a sponge filter, the air travels up the uplift tube, causing a suction down through the sponge. So water would come down through the sponge and then go up. So he's had really good success with this, and because I already have a centralized air pump, so I have plenty of air to spare, and these materials are very cheap to get, I decided I'd go ahead and try out this theory of basically putting mini sponge filters in the jars. So I'm going to go and set this up. This cost about $8, I think, maybe less, maybe like $6. I bought it on Amazon. As you can see, it comes from like Hong Kong or somewhere. Doesn't have English directions. Oh, it does have English directions. But basically it's just open pore sponge, and I wanted something that was very open like this. A lot of the sponge you see that you can buy in bulk and blocks like this is more dense, and I wanted something that wouldn't get clogged up really quickly. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to get this open up. I think if the measurements that were provided on Amazon were correct, I should be able to make 4 filters out of this, and I'm going to have a little bit of sponge left over, which I'll throw in a tank, you know, in a filter for extra beneficial bacteria. But I'm going to get this cut. I'm going to get this cut. I probably could have gotten a smaller diameter. This is a 1-inch diameter. But this is all that my local fish store had. I'm lucky that my local fish store even carries rigid tubing like this. It's often hard to find. So I'm also going to cut this down. It's 3 feet. And I have to decide how tall I want my uplift tubes to be. I'm thinking probably not more than 4 or 5 inches. These beanies are roughly 7 inches, and then the sponge itself is about 2. So we'll see. I'm going to see how much I'm going to cut off of this. So I'm going to go ahead and measure and get the get all the parts cut, and then I'll show you what the finished product looks like. Okay, so the first thing I noticed, I didn't realize that this was folded over in the package. So it's actually only about 3/4 of an inch thick, which should be fine considering the amount of surface area it's going to have and it only having 1 fish. I feel like this should be enough sponge. We're definitely going to try it out though, because I can always order thicker sponge. But yeah, I should be able to make at least 4, if not more than 4. I think this is supposed to be 2 feet long, roughly. 25 inches by 4 1/4 inches. So yeah, I should be able to make 6 filters out of this and not 4. So that's good. I could double it up, but then I'd only be able to make like 2 filters. So we're going to go ahead and leave it at a 3/4 inch thickness, and we'll see how it does compared to a thicker sponge. I'm going to be ordering more sponge down the road, but we'll see how this does with this thickness. So let's go ahead and cut it and get it all set up. Okay, so here's our prototype. I'm already thinking I'm probably going to need thicker foam, just because this is just, it doesn't hold up well. You can see it's kind of like bent. The reason there's a little bit of room at the bottom is because there has to be a little bit for the water to come under the sponge and then go up the intake tube. So this is like 1/4 of an inch. Maybe I could even do it a little bit lower, but for right now we're gonna leave it at that. So you can see not too much space taken away from the fish. Yeah, ideally, this would be much easier to do in a bigger jar, but we're not focused on taking away space. We're focusing on how can we make the water quality as good as possible, because that's really what's important when you're raising bettas, is keeping the water quality good. So, and as I already said, I could probably go with a thinner uplift tube. This is just what was available. I could probably go with a 1/2 inch or maybe 3/4 inch. But for right now, I'm going to use this because this is what I was able to get. And it has to be big enough that I can put an air line down it and still leave enough room for the water to come up. So this is our prototype. I'm gonna you know, clean off all this stuff, rinse it really well, and get that sticker residue off of the sorry, the dog's over there playing, distracting me. Get the sticker residue off of this uplift tube before I start it up. I'm also gonna probably get a little bit of filter media from my other filters and stick it in this. I might just take a sponge from one of my other filters and put a piece of it onto this, because I want to get the cycle started as fast as possible, but I didn't want to just have to stick all of these sponges into my other tank and wait for them to cycle that way, because I'm too impatient for that. And I don't really use those bottled bacteria things. I know people that say they work, and, you know, I trust those people. I just have a hard time spending money on something that I already have available in my fish tanks. So I can easily take a bit of gravel or a sponge or something from my other tanks and start these cycles that way. So, but yeah, this is the prototype. I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest to fit. As you can see, I do have like maybe a 1/2 inch. I actually have more. Wait, it's all falling on the floor. So I have several bits of foam that's going to be left over. I tried to find a seller that was selling foam in a dimension that would easily fit into these, but it's impossible. So that's okay. I can use this leftover foam in any of my filters. I can cut it up into little pieces, or I can leave it like this and just stick it in there. So, you know, it's not going to go to waste. So I probably won't have these set up in this video. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I'm not sure when I'm going to actually get them on the shelf and get the air going into them. I have to make sure that I can even run air to them from my air lines, because I'm going to need to run it from my main line and then through a gang valve. So I have to just make sure that I don't need a new manifold or something for that. But yep, I'm pretty excited about this little project. Hopefully it works well. If it does, it's going to be amazing, because it's basically going to be like a mini cycled tank. And a lot of people say you can't cycle a tank this small. Not that this is a tank, but you can't have a stable cycle. And that's really never made any sense to me, because it's the same process and it's just on a smaller level. So, you know, as long as you have enough surface area for the bacteria to support whatever your bioload is, which in this case is going to be one fish, one betta, I don't really see how this wouldn't work. And like I said, I didn't make this idea up. It came from another betta breeder. He's doing it. He's been doing it for months now, and he said he's had great success with it. His jars are larger, and he does use thicker sponge. So I'm not entirely sure that my sponge is going to be enough surface area to support this volume of water, but we're going to find out. So I think if I calculated it, it was like 15 square inches of surface area. give or take. So, I don't know, we'll see. But I'm gonna finish cutting out the pieces to make the rest of them. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be able to do 6 beanies, which is nice. I'm gonna test 3 with air stones, as long as I can find 3 air stones hanging around my fish room, and 3 without air stones, just with the airline going down to the bottom, and see if that really makes a difference. So we'll see. I'll definitely be updating on this project later on, though. So that's all for this, and we'll see what else I'm gonna do today in the fish room. I'm not sure what, but we'll do something. So I have some horrible news. I was down here doing water changes and whatnot, and looked at Cheekies and noticed that she's pine coning. And if you don't know what pine coning means, it means that her scales are starting to stick out, which is an indicator that there's some kind of bacterial infection going on. Hold on. I'm trying to get her in the net so I can show you what it looks like. So you can see there, the scales on her side are poking out. And it seems to be worse on one side than the other, which I haven't really seen before in bettas. In bettas, it usually happens on both sides, but I'm assuming it's the same problem of some kind of bacterial infection causing swelling, which causes the scales to stick out. So in most cases, it's not curable. Usually by the time they get to this point, there's nothing you can do. I am going to try to treat her, but I'm really upset about it. You know, you guys have seen me go through the journey with this fish trying to get her healthy, and when we bought her, she looked healthy, and she's just, first she's had fish lice, and she had parasites, and now she's got this going on. And even though I've already treated her, you know, multiple times, she's still sick, and it's really, really sad because I don't know that I'm going to be able to get her better. You can see she's kind of floating. She's still eating. She's still swimming around, but I can just tell by her behavior she's not feeling, you know, 110%. So I'm going to do a big water change right now. I'm waiting for some friends to get back to me that are more versed in dosing medications than I am, and see what they recommend. So, really sad. I really, really hope we can treat her, because not only am I going to be devastated if she dies, but also, you know, my mom bought her for me as a gift. My sister's attached to her. We're all attached to her, so. We're all very upset. Alright, well, this is going to be a sad note, but I'm going to end the video because I don't know if I'm going to do anything else in the fish room today, but just do her water change and get her medicated and get her treatment going. So, thanks for watching. I'll update you guys, you know, with her condition as she hopefully improves. Either way, I'll keep you guys updated. As I already mentioned, this is the last day of the daily vlog challenge, so don't expect a new video tomorrow, but maybe in a few days. Maybe I will do a video tomorrow. It's just gonna depend, but definitely gonna be doing less videos now that this challenge is done. So I appreciate everyone who's gone along this ride with me and all the comments and stuff, and hopefully we can keep going. So, alright guys, I'll talk to you soon.